very light touch presentation. I'm not going to do any slides. It's more of a quick talk through. And I think most of you, I'm sure, know some of this information I'm going to talk about. But I'm really just going to cover some basics about what is a social enterprise and why I think it's important. Also, a bit about the social enterprise scene in Plymouth, which is actually, one of the world leading or UK leading social enterprise places. So fundamentally, what is a social enterprise? It's a term that we bandy about quite a lot. It's effectively a business with a good cause, and it dedicates its work and its profits to achieving that good cause. There's no legal definition of what a social enterprise is, and that often causes some of the problems. And I can see on the organisations here that are from social enterprises. But what I found fascinating over the last sort of 10 years working in this sector is social enterprises can take a number of legal forms. So they could be trading charities, they can be community interest companies, they could be community benefit societies, cooperatives, a whole range of different types of legal structures. And that can sometimes cause a bit of confusion. Across the UK, it's estimated about 100,000. Here in Plymouth, we think there's about 200. We've got some research into this, which I can share a link to in a minute. So really famous examples, if you've not heard of any, are things like The Big Issue. Obviously sells a magazine, it's a business, it sells a magazine, advertising, etc. And the money goes towards tackling homelessness. The Eden Project down in Cornwall, it's a big visitor attraction. All the money goes into the ticket sales. The commercial side of Eden goes towards supporting environmental causes. And here in Plymouth, we've got very famous examples like the University of Plymouth. The university is a social enterprise, believe it or not. It's probably one of the largest, or the largest in the city. Live Well Southwest is a £100 million organisation that delivers health and social care type work with over, I think, several thousand employees. But it goes right down in Plymouth to tiny 1, 2, 3 person businesses. I was going to share my screen. I'll show you. I've got my slides of Plymouth. I've got a list somewhere of all the different. I'll dig it out in a minute. So we've got Real Ideas, My Business. I should have introduced myself more clearly, shouldn't I? I'm Gareth Hart, and I'm one of the directors of Plymouth Social Enterprise Network. Getting too excited about social enterprise. And one of the elected directors of the Social Enterprise Network here in Plymouth, but also run my own business, which is called Iridescent Ideas CIC. So we're a social enterprise business advice company. We start from a point of view of trying to create a more socially enterprising, greener, fairer economy. I'm the co-chair of the Plymouth Inclusive Growth Group and sit on the growth board as well, which is looking at economic policy. So we're trying to embed social enterprise concepts into economic policy in Plymouth. The network represents about 80 social enterprises. We think there's about 200, and quite a lot of those organisations probably don't even realise they're social enterprises. There's a high number of, for example, childcare businesses that are run on charitable models, but they're charging people fees for childcare. That's a social enterprise within a charity structure. And they might not call themselves social enterprises. They may call themselves charities, which is quite an interesting dilemma as well. So in Plymouth, about 200 social enterprises, collectively employing around 9,000 people and bringing in around £600 million a year to Plymouth's economy, to spending all that in the economy of Plymouth. And in terms of sustainability, so more broadly than environmental, we were looking at the sort of triple bottom line of economic, social and environmental impact. In terms of economy in Plymouth, say 2 out of 5 of the biggest employers are social enterprises. We have grown as a sector by a third over the last 3 or 4 years. And what's quite interesting around sort of the social side of it is 80% of employees are women, and over 56% of leaders are women. And that compares to about 16% of standard businesses. So social enterprises are much, much more diverse around leadership than standard businesses. And that's mirrored across the country. And one of the really interesting things is about the living wage as well. So 61%, nearly 2/3 of social enterprises in Plymouth are paying the real living wage, as was, compared to about 30% of standard businesses. A couple other interesting things as well around sort of like the wider social impact of social enterprises. 94% are offering support around employee well-being, and 95% are involving employees in decision making. I think there's more to do on the environment for social enterprises, but some research across the Southwest, which was by Social Enterprise UK, suggested that social enterprises in the Southwest are more likely to put environmental causes in their mission than the UK as a whole. So that's quite interesting as well. So it's It's a fantastic business model. The Social Enterprise Network has an advocacy role, trying to build a more socially enterprising ecosystem for social enterprises to thrive. So that's at startup level. We've got 5 priorities. One's at startup level. How do we stimulate more social enterprises? How do we get everyone in school and university to have an experience of social enterprise? You know, I did Young Enterprise. Can you remember Young Enterprise in the 1980s? Thatcher's dream. You know, we did a business there and it was completely about making profit. No mention of the environment, no mention of social good. And this was, you know, late 80s when green movement was certainly alive and sort of kicking back then. I think we really got to challenge that assumption about business as, you know, just a way of making money. What is the purpose of the economy? What is the purpose of business? And B Corp gets right to the heart of that as well. And there's many social enterprises that are B Corps as well. I know there's a slight difference, you know, and I'm a big fan of pluralism and all these different types of structures. I mean, there's an interesting thing about how social enterprises can be different from standard businesses around things like corporate and sustainable, sorry, CSR, corporate and social responsibility. I suppose for social enterprises, that is absolutely baked into the legal structure and their governance. They have to do these things. It's not an optional extra, and that's what marks it out as different to, say, a standard business doing good things. And there are standard businesses doing amazing things out there, which we should absolutely take a lead from. But for social enterprises, that legal restriction in, well, obligations, you know, it's people might see it as a restriction. I see it as a way of liberating business to do good for the planet and people. It's actually it's baked into our governance. So that's a really important point as well. Yeah, so Social Enterprise City in Plymouth, with the first Social Enterprise City in 2013. That frames a lot of our work. I can see a couple of people here that are on the Social Enterprise Network board as well. But yeah, that strategy about growing social enterprise for us around starting social enterprises, getting great business advice for startup and development and growth of social enterprises, access to finance and investment. We need social investment to work harder to really recognise the benefits that social enterprises bring around the environment and around these social conditions for the workforce. We've got some work to do with markets. We do a lot of work with the council, Spend for Plymouth, and through the Growth Board, try to encourage big businesses and small businesses and public sector to spend more with social enterprises and B Corps and the whole social economy. And in that include cooperatives and voluntary and community groups as well. So with some success, you know, the council here has got fantastic pioneering social value policy around commissioning more from social enterprises. And we've done work with big organisations, Babcock's, Bailey Partnership, Argyle and others around trying to embed social enterprises in their supply chains as well. Probably that's enough for me in a nutshell. I suppose any questions? It's a whistle stop tour. There's loads more I could say, but
Gareth, how much of this could you do without collaboration?
So it's all in collaboration. I mean, I think so. The social enterprise city concept originally came about through a pioneering collaboration between the City Council, which at the time was a cooperative council, the Social Enterprise Network, and the University of Plymouth, which again, going back nearly 10 years, was the world's first social enterprise university. So that was the core collaboration. I mean, PCEN itself is a collaboration of 80 social enterprises. We're effectively cooperatively owned by our members who elect a board of directors every year, and they co-own it for a £1 membership fee each. We work in partnership with the Rank Foundation in the city that are investing nearly £5 million here around social economy and social enterprise. City College Plymouth around some European projects. That's looking at how to get more young people into social enterprises. The university, as I say, all 3 universities actually in Plymouth are social enterprises. So yeah, we do a lot in collaboration then with Inclusive Growth Group, which encompasses Chamber of Commerce, Federation of Small Businesses. And we're making great progress. You know, I think actually this idea of this social economy and this purposeful economy has really got traction, particularly post-COVID. So in Plymouth, inclusive economy, inclusive growth is right at the heart of the economic policy. And alongside that, green economy and clean growth at the local enterprise level. So these things are gaining traction. And I mean, I'm really a big fan of this idea of what's the purpose of the economy. Is the purpose around treating people better, treating the planet better, you know, redeveloping, you know, we've got to get that into the heart of our economic policy. It can't just be growth for growth's sake. Let's have growth, but in the right areas, growth in social enterprise, growth in B Corp, growth in environmentally sustainable businesses. That's where I sort of think we need to focus our efforts around growth. Let's make it good, inclusive growth.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you very much, Gareth. That's really useful. And yeah, it's just if anyone is interested in the idea of kind of social enterprise, definitely head in the direction of Plymouth Social Enterprise Network, and there's, as Gareth said, there's lots of support out there